This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
Ladies and gentlemen on the podcast today, Veronica Malloy. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. We were just talking because this is the first time we've actually met in person.
Yes.
But we've both heard about each other through my wife for 5 years. I don't know. How long has it been? Forever.
I think it's been a little bit over.
Is it more than that?
Yeah, it's probably even 8 years.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And did you guys meet through Heather D's?
No, Heather D's actually refer your wife to me for lash extensions and work.
Yeah.
But then Heather decided to go with somebody else, and then your wife stayed with me, and then we lost a little bit of contact there, and then she came back, and I always enjoyed our visits and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, she's fun.
Yeah.
She's done a thing. I think, did she pull her eyelashes out for like the last year or something?
She's a picker, she kind of does
she's absolutely a picker.
She can be a picker, So, who cares? Sometimes it happens, we have allergies and stuff like that. Sometimes you can't really hide it. So you will pick.
Well, she's funny. So she's trying to grow them out naturally because she's plugging or something like that.
Yes.
Right? So she's coming back around on the cycle where she's like, I'm going back to get my eyelashes done. I'm
good.
Like, whatever.
Good.
Whatever makes you happy, Yeah, sounds good. So
it makes my life easier without having to use mascara every day. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and nowadays, eyelashes, they look good.
Yes.
In the 90s,
so
man,
old.
chicks that had their eyelashes done, it was like, they're 3 inches long, looking crazy.
Yes. Not pretty at all.
Yeah. So for our listeners, you have an accent.
Yes.
Where are you from?
I'm from Brazil.
Where at?
Rio.
Oh, Rio? Okay.
Yeah, Rio.
Did you see that we were just there?
No.
We were in Rio.
You guys were in Rio? Oh, my gosh. Yes.
We flew down there on February, I can't remember the months. January 11th, we went down with my men's group. We did a couples trip. So we were in Rio for 3 days, and then we went to Iguazu Falls for 2 days, and then Argentina for 2 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is my route too when I go. I am planning on going this year and taking my daughter with me.
Oh, very cool.
So she hasn't been there for 12 years, maybe.
Oh, dang. Yeah. So the Christ the Redeemer statue was one of my bucket list things, right?
Yes.
So I was so stoked to go there and check that out. What else do you like about Rio?
Food.
Yeah.
Energy. Beach.
So where do you hang when you go there?
Copacabana, Ipanema.
Yeah.
The story of Ipanema, the girl from Ipanema.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love going to Ipanema. It brings so much memories from growing up and going to the beach and hanging out there with friends and catching some waves.
And that's the beach just south of Copacabana, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, because we went to both of them.
Yeah.
But we were we're being bussed around on a big group, so it was always like, beach, let's go.
Yes, absolutely.
So when you grew up there, did you guys go up to that statue a lot?
Honestly, no. I went once when I was I was probably a teenager. I was probably with the group of the church.
Yeah.
And we did kind of a tour through Pão de Açúcar, the mountain, with the little, what is it called again?
The train goes up?
The train goes up and down. Yeah. So we did that, and then we did Cristo. But then, and then I never been until I went back to Brazil 12 or 13 years ago. And then I did it again with my daughter when she was 8 years old. So it's time to take her back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you view, how old were you when you left Rio?
I was 17, almost 18.
You came to the States?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you view it there? Because it's interesting because I was in the touristy spots, right? So super comfortable, blah, 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 blah. But then you see vast amounts of poverty there.
Yes.
And then you hear it's crazy violent. But then we also hired these guys in the favelas to drive us up through them, on motorcycles. And then they went for this little hike at the top. But I don't know, everything I saw was kind of beautiful and almost picturesque. But then I feel you hear these rumors about this undertone of crime and violence, and is it just a world that just mixes in, or what's your views on that?
Because I've been here for 23 years, it's hard for me to picture that lifestyle again because it's been super, super long. So I'm more, I guess most of my life I've been here now. But growing up, you definitely become very street smart. I kind of always tell my daughter, as she's 20 years old now, that she needs to be knowing where her exit is every time she goes anywhere, in case if something would happen. That's how I grew up. I grew up with those thoughts in my mind. If something would happen, where is my exit strategy? So I always tried to make it as fun as possible because it is dangerous. You do not go, especially me walking around. You can't just go walk around. Even the person that grew up there, you have to be careful. You can't just walk around, especially you. You are a target there. Yeah. So walking down Copacabana Beach midnight or 11 o'clock at night, you have to be careful. You have to watch your surroundings because it does happen. And I mean, I guess if you're looking for something, of course, you're going to find it. Yeah. And I always try to stay away from that kind of crowd, or like I always telling my husband that it's really hard for me to go to like a concert or like a jazz game and then I want to leave always 5 minutes before the game is over. And he always says, why? I mean, because I don't like crowds. Like it makes me have anxiety. Every time that there is a big crowd, like in Brazil, it's a big mistake. Yeah. So I always, I had season tickets to go to Real Salt Lake, or I have, I've been to jazz games all the time, but I'm always leaving before the game is over just because I hate that big crowd. Yeah. I'm always really afraid that something is going to happen or somebody's going to pull something and that's how I grew up. I grew up with those thought process. Okay, where is my exit? Okay, it's right there. So, okay, let's get going. So I don't know. You just have to be very careful and know who you are hiring and stuff like that, just to make sure you're safe when you're down there.
Now, when you grew up down there, did you grow up like middle class, poor, wealthy?
I would say that I did grow up middle class. Yeah. I never starved in my life. My dad was really, really amazing. He raised me and my other brother that was not, we were not his kids, but he raised us. I was 4 years old when I came to his life, and he was an amazing stepdad, and I loved him for it. And I went to private schools, and he always made education being the most important thing in my life. Yeah. And yes, some people don't have that, those are very, it's very important to have parents that really focus on education, because otherwise you don't have it. It's very easy down there to just drop it and go and do easy things. So I was never into that lifestyle because my dad especially, was really rough. Like he always made sure that we were like, don't ever skip school. And, so he was really rough on that, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that makes sense. So in your neighborhood down there, you always felt safe then in your neighborhood, right?
Yes, I felt safe. I never had any issues there, but, I had friends that lived, because, being part of a community as the church community, you grew up I would say, even here in Utah, we grew up very close-minded. Yeah. We don't know what really goes out there, until you go into the world and see really what it's all about, But my friends didn't have the same lifestyle, or they didn't have the same opportunity. So they had a really rough time. Yeah.
So did you grow up LDS down there?
Yes, I did. Okay. I was introduced to the church when I was 10 years old.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I don't practice anymore, but I was 10 when I got baptized.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then so what made you want to come to the States?
I graduated high school so early. Mm-hmm. I was on the program. Private school, of course, advances you a little bit more. So I was 16 when I graduated high school. So I always had a planned to, I want to come to the United States. No matter what, I was going to do it. And I knew my mom and dad, they were never going to come with me. And I needed to make a decision for myself. So my mom always saw in me that I was a very independent person. I always did. I always worked. And worked hard. And I always had that work ethic. Yeah. And I decided to apply and came, and I started going to school here. I loved it. And I guess I never looked back.
Yeah.
And I received the culture, which is so different, you know, from being an American now today and respecting the culture here is definitely different from the culture that I came from back in 17 years. Yeah. When I was 17 years old, but it's just so different. And at the same time, I promised myself that I wanted to incorporate that because I loved it so much. So here I am 23 years ago. I came to the United States. It was freezing outside.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. There was so much snow that day, too. But yeah, I loved it, every minute of it.
So when you came here, who did you stay with?
So I stayed with a couple that he served a mission like 30 years before in Brazil when the church was non-existent down there, you know. And then it was back in the days where, it was 3 years of a mission, not 2 years, you know.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys, about 60 years ago now, I would say, these guys would go to a mission to open up the branch or the word or whatever. And it would literally, they would have to serve a 3-year commitment to the church. And so I stayed with him. He spoke broken Portuguese, of course, because it's been so long. Yeah. And he loved practicing Portuguese with me. So he always says to me, like, when you were so little, I could speak to you all the time. Now you don't speak Portuguese to me anymore. Yeah. So he's still alive. Of course, he's almost 80. Yeah. And he's amazing. And he introduced me to his family. And he has a family of 8 kids, and I was his 9th kid. And he literally felt like he wanted to adopt me. So I had American parents when I lived here. So
very cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
It was fun.
So did you, when you immigrated here, so you immigrated, right?
Yes.
Okay. So just didn't come on student visa?
Yes.
So what was the most shocking thing about our culture? Other than it's freaking cold here.
Yes, for sure. Cold was shocking to me. I never felt that cold before. I never felt like I never seen snow before. That was incredible that day. When I came to the United States, I'm like, holy cow, this is crazy. Like, I never thought it was even possible. I mean, growing up, I watched Home Alone. And I loved it every Christmas. That was tradition. Yeah. I loved watching Home Alone and watching the Christmas day that it snowed and all that stuff. But the most shocking for me at that time, it was just people personalities. Mm-hmm. Brazilian people are very kind and very sweet. If you're in need of something, they take it from them to give it to you. And it's not that doesn't happen here, but you have to ask. Mm-hmm. And I think Americans will not guess it because that's how we live. We live in a very fast pace. Even me now, I don't ask anymore. Yeah. If you need something, you have to ask me. Yeah. If you don't ask me, then I'm assuming that you're just fine. Yeah. So in Brazil, that is the only difference. And I adapted accordingly to making a balance in my life because I don't want to do that too much. You know, I can't live my life constantly asking people, hey, how are you doing? Do you need anything? But I wanted to have that balance to understand and feel that need of helping somebody else. Yeah. So that was the only thing I noticed, that people are a little bit different here. And I respect it either way. It's just that one is too much, then the other one is too much. So I want to find a middle ground.
Yeah.
So
did you speak English when you came over?
I mean, I went to course. I did courses and went to school. And of course, I always picked English.
Yeah.
but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Like you have to be in a country to learn the language.
Yeah.
Like, because you don't live with an English person that will speak English all day long.
Yeah.
You live with all Portuguese people,
Yeah.
and they all would speak Portuguese. So you would go to school, you would learn a few sentences and stuff, but when you get home, you right back to that Portuguese. And sometimes it's not as easy as people think. Learning another language is very, very challenging if you don't get to practice every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you landed, you felt like you could understand people?
No.
Okay.
It felt like I was, gosh, man, I'm okay with talking. I'm okay expressing myself. And I was so crazy when I came here for probably 6 months. I was very quiet just to observe everything that it was around me. So it taught me a lot of that patience, and frustrations was all the time. So I cried most of the time because I want to be able to express myself. I want to be able to talk to people. And that was not coming as easy as I wanted to. Yeah. But as time goes, of course, you force yourself. At the time, I was still practicing, the religion. So I would read the Book of Mormon every single day, but I needed to read in English. Yeah. So I, back in seminary in Brazil, I memorized all 25 scriptures from each book, right? So there is 100 scriptures that I memorized. So I did the same goal to memorize all 100 from in English. Yeah. And I'm like, holy cow, that was hard. But I did it. I could recite it, and it was really, really tough. But every day I would get up, I would make myself, read the Book of Mormon and trying to practice as much as I could. But of course, the guy that I lived with, my American dad, only wanted to speak Portuguese with me. I'm like, no, let's speak English so I can understand it. Yeah. But yeah, it took me a little bit of time, and then I decided to get a job here, and it was pretty interesting how that went.
What was your first job?
Well, me and my high achievements, I decided to go and work for a credit card application work, like call centers.
Call centers, yeah.
So anyway, I went and I applied, and they got me to start working the very following week. And everything needed to be read on a script. So I had to just read from a script. But obviously, I had an accent when I would read it, very strong, stronger than what it is now. So it was really interesting because I loved the conversation from Florida, from the states of Florida, Massachusetts, or like any other besides Boston and New York. Yeah. Every time I would get whatever I knew, and I memorized the prefix of the phone numbers, and I would like, okay, this is New York. I don't want it. So I pretended. So I would just hang up on them just because they were a little rude. They would tell me, hey, I didn't understand anything you said. I just want somebody that spoke English. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I tried, but sometimes I would get home and I cried for the whole day because it felt like I want to know more. I want to be able to speak better so people can understand me. Yeah. But it just
would feel isolating, right?
What?
You feel alone, feel isolated?
Yeah, I did. Because, communicating with people, it's different. And I didn't want it to sound like I was complaining, but I wanted to be able to be, I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep going. And I did. I mean, don't get me wrong. Here I am. I'm still with an accent, but I can understand everything you say. Yeah. No problem with that, and any topic, I watched movies, and I always wanted to watch movies with only American subtitles, no Portuguese. Because I wanted to understand your guys' dialogue and how you guys speak and with the accent and practice that. So it was interesting.
Oh, very cool.
Very hard, but.
So how did you integrate socially when you moved? Was it mostly through church, probably?
Yes, it was most of it church. And then I think it was, going to school. I think it was another, because once I was here, did a couple of years of English school,
Yeah.
ESL, and then I decided to go and become a massage therapist. So I went to Utah Massage Therapy down in Salt Lake City, downtown. And it was very hard because obviously everybody in the class, all American. And in my class, I had only 2 people from another country. One of them was me, and then the other one, it was a Japanese girl.
Okay.
So she had the same issues that I had, like communicating. But the teachers were amazing. The people around us were so sweet. And, like I said, I'm a very good student. And I would say that I have the photograph memory, so I can memorize things really quickly. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's my benefit to learn another language, is just made something that I have that makes it easier for me to just hear. Anyway, so I graduated Utah Massage School with like 3.8 because I study so much. And of course I would have a hard time every day, but it was a hard class. It was a hard course that I took. And the anatomy part of it was the hardest thing I ever done. Going to a anatomy lab down in Utah, University of Utah. Holy cow. That was hard. Learning all the muscle mass, learning all the bones, all the insertions and origin of the muscle. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. Yeah. But it was interesting still, to me, one of the best, I think, achievements of my life that I did it, and I graduated from it too.
So how long did you do massage for?
The course, I think the class, it was like, obviously is an associate's degree. So it was like almost 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then I practiced for a while too.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't do that anymore, right? Massage?
No, I think it's just because I just don't have the time. Yeah. And my type of massage is not as relaxing. It's more clinical. So I go into more of that muscle mass that needs to break down some of that trigger points or the knots that is, there for a reason. Yeah. And that's what I normally do.
That's the massages I get. The corrective ones?
Yes, the corrective ones are the best anyway.
You feel better the next day. When you're getting them, they're painful.
The next day? I don't know about that.
Well, you are sore.
You're still sore.
Yeah,
You're really sore the next day. And then maybe 2 or 3 days later, you feel like, okay, now I can feel that my muscles are really relaxed. But yeah, during the massage, it's not fun.
Yeah, it's a beat down. So then, so where'd you go from there? When did you meet your husband?
So I got married to my daughter's father.
Okay.
And we got married in the temple, Jordan River Temple. And then we were here we lived in Lehi. Then we moved to Draper, and then Vegas, because he got a job that was, the territory was mainly in Vegas. Yeah. And then in Vegas, we got a divorce, and then I moved back here. And then we were friends with the same couples. Like we had like a group of friends that were like, I think the number was like 10 couples. And we would go on vacations together. So we would do family things and then, Christmas parties all the time. And I met my husband through that group. I got a divorce in Vegas, came back here, and then we found out that another friend of ours were getting a divorce, and we start hanging out, me, my husband, my ex-husband at the time, and then my husband now. And I don't know, I think one time my ex-husband was out of town, and then Kelly, my husband now, came into town and said, "Hey, do you want to go to dinner?" I'm like, "Sure." And that's how we decided to date. I mean, after that, he kept coming down to see. He was a poker player. He plays in poker tournaments all the time, and very smart on that level too. And he kept coming down every time he didn't have the kids. And then we started dating. And then this is now 12 years now.
Yeah.
Being together.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So was the first marriage, was it an amicable separation?
It was okay. It was tough, for a year and a half, but we had to make it happen for the kid. Yeah. And I think one thing I always see, because I work with women all day long, and one of the things that when they have like another marriage, or they're coming into a family, a blended family, it's really hard to understand the kids from that family, and then you blending yours into it, and trying to co-parent with the ex and trying to understand all this dynamics. It can be very harsh and hard, but for me and Steve, we've been so good with our kid, but we only had one kid together. So the focus was in that kid. And I think we've done a pretty good dang job with her, as we stayed in the same patterns. As if she gets in trouble at home, my home, then she's going to be in trouble at daddy's home. So I would call Steve and I say, hey, she was naughty here. She needs to be grounded at your house for the week that she's going to spend with you. And he said, okay, what did she do? So I would give him the whole story. And he was really good about it, co-parent that way. Yeah. So whatever rules of my house were the same rules at his house. And then if she would get in trouble there, she would get in trouble in my house as well. So I think maintaining that relationship and separating whatever happened to us, and the main focus is on our kid, I think it was the best thing we've done. Yeah. Yeah.
Did he end up getting remarried?
He did get remarried, and he got divorced too, with the same reason. Yeah. So, but, I think right now he asked his daughter the other day and said, Danny, and said, hey, what do you think if I get married again? My daughter said to me, Mom, I told my dad that he's better single. So it was so cute. Yeah. I mean, I hope that it doesn't, he's a great person. He just needs to live his life however he wants. But marriage for him, he needs to just, keep it aside and then have fun. Yeah. If that's the case, just have fun.
So you guys are still friendly then?
Yes, we are. Yeah. We haven't talked very much, but every time we have something with the kid, we do it. It's like Danny's 20th birthday was in July, and she wanted to get together with me, my husband, and then Dad and his girlfriend. And we went to Spencer's for dinner. And it was really interesting because the host and then the server kept looking at us and asking, okay, I have to ask. It's not very often I see a parent, the two parents together with their, significant others, and they are so grace. There's so much grace here. There's so much happiness. Yeah. It was really interesting that we still, to this day, we talk, we help, Danny moving to a new home in Colorado, because that's where she's at for college. And we went together, we helped her, and then we say goodbye and we move on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a great example.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of more amicable splits recently, from my friends that have been divorced. But the ones that are nasty, man, it's just like...
It's nasty.
It's just a pain.
Yes.
I'm like, why do people do this?
It's because I think it's the ego. I think when you get hurt, whoever it is that is hurt, or even the other one, because at the end of the day, the marriage didn't break just because it was one person. It broke because there was two together that broke that commitment. I think when that happens, I think everybody wants to see the person who is broken wants the other one to see what happened. But in the life we live today, it's hard to see it in a way where you don't put your egos up first or your walls first, and then you judge. So I think I think I mean, it can take time, and it might take probably even a year to really have this amazing relationship that I have with Steve. I really do think that we don't talk to each other every day or not even once a month, but when we see each other, we're so respectful. We try to understand, and for my birthday or his birthday or Mother's Day or Father's Day, I always send him a message, and he sends me messages when it's my turn. And it's very, very, it's nice to see that. And my daughter gets to see how it's so normal. It's normal for her that it's not creating that daddy issues. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because dad is in her life constantly too as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, she also gets to see two parents that are kind, right? They're choosing to be kind, they're choosing to be happy, which is what people really should do.
Yeah.
You know, instead of harboring all this.
Yeah, exactly.
Craziness.
Exactly. And it takes a while too. So
was it hard blending your family? Because we were talking earlier, right? So your current husband has
3 kids.
Yes. And then you're one.
Yes.
What was blending those guys like? Did their ages overlap at all?
So our youngest, so he has a younger boy. So he's just barely 21. And then there is Danny, 20. And they're just 7 months apart. His birthday is December 31st. Danny is July 31st. So it's just 7 months. But those two really played well and had a great time together. The other two, they're so much older. So that gap makes a difference for them. Now, blending families, I think it's a really hard blending. I think I've had my fair of stories to tell, but I think kids with another person that doesn't have the same values that I have with my ex-husband, it's hard to introduce some of these things to them because that's not what they grew up with. And that what I saw with daddy issues or some kind of a patterns on the kids, it's hard to break those patterns if the parents, really the true parents, are not really willing to see it or try to figure out how to fix it. Yeah. So those things can come really, that's why the majority of, the statistics is very clear. Sometimes when you blend a family, that marriage sometimes doesn't last only because the problem with blending the kids together. And I guess over the years, I've seen a lot of, my stories and then my friends' stories and clients' stories that it's a really hard situation when one parent wants to do one thing and the other parent wants to do another. So, and then the kids are always caught in the middle. Yeah. Who am I going to obey or who am I going to listen to? Or that picking, I'm going to pick my mom or I'm going to pick my dad. For me, that's the most ridiculous thing you can do to a kid. So I am all about, there was no need for picking. Mom and dad, we're together. We do this together. If we have to ground you, we're going to ground you together. So that was my lesson. And I tried with blending that, my stepkids. But when the mom wants to just make sure that she wants to tell the kids how bad the dad is, there is always, because she wants that picking, like she wants the kids to pick her all the time. And I'm like, I'm not going to be my daughter's friend yet. At some point I will, but I want to be her mom. And I take the title of mom very serious. I'm a hard mom. I love hard. I love being a mom, and it was everything to me. Yeah. So to me, for sure, I put Danny first for most of everything in my life. Danny always came first. But of course, when you have to be a parent, you have to be consistent. You have to remember the kids, like now these days with the phone, they bend rules. They wanted to just stay on this. They don't have even like the social conversation. Yeah. Podcasts are so amazing now these days because these kids are watching some of these podcasts that it's like a fun communication going back and forth and sharing with people it's nice because these kids needs to see some of this interaction that they don't see it anymore because they're constantly literally stuck with this thing. Yeah. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love going on social media, scrolling up and down, liking it, not liking it, watching funny videos and, but I think my life is not going to be about this. It's going to be about the real things and communicating and having social skills. Yeah. Some of these kids, we don't have I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years from now, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a tough situation because kids are getting worse and worse with that social skills. Yeah. So
they're going to have to learn it. Yeah.
As some way or another. Yeah. I'm hoping and I'm hopeful too, but it's really hard to see, especially with 2020 with COVID. Did not help any of these kids graduating high school, having to take the classes at home. Yeah. That social skill got broken. And so I don't know.
That was a sad time. We had, proms went away, dances went away, social activities went away, all that stuff for that one graduating class, right? It was 2021.
20.
Right? Yeah.
2020.
Yeah. So, it was 2020, right?
Yeah, it was 2020. Yeah, because my daughter graduated high school. She went to Waterford and man, when we heard that the school was going to shut down, the whole entire state shut down, not just the schools, but the whole state shut down. I think they took 5 days. They literally shut it down for 5 days and they integrated the Zoom classes so quickly. These kids were they were prepared. I felt like, I was so proud and happy to see, of course, Waterford, by the way, is a very expensive school, but I think she adjusted so well, but that social skills, that missing friends, that be able to hang out with her friends, that was really hard to see her going through that. It was tough.
Yeah, absolutely tough. Yeah, now they got thrown into college and college was all online forever. And some of my friends were joking and it's like, man, can you hire a kid that did half their college online?
At home.
What's the difference between that and YouTube?
Exactly. Exactly.
You never know.
Yeah.
I guess
you never know.
We'll know in 15 years, right?
Exactly.
We're all retired.
Exactly.
So you've always been running a business, right?
Yes.
That you've been in control of.
Yes.
So what's your current business?
Right now, I am a master medical esthetician. So I partner with a med spa as well. So she is my nurse practitioner and she is amazing what she does. She has a vision and I had my vision. So we just collaborated together and created a business that when you stop by, you can get anything from Botox, fillers, or facials, lashes, laser hair removal, all this fun stuff. But I created my business platform before. It was based on All About You. That's the name of my business. It was All About You services. And of course I didn't have the Botox because, in the state of Utah, only nurses can do Botox, but of course other states, master esthetician like me could do it, but not here. Don't know the laws very much here. Yeah. But anyway, so it was really interesting how I've met her for, over 10 years ago. And then she went her way doing her own thing. And then I went mine. I created this platform where all these clients that I have, they are so loyal, so sweet. You create a name for yourself. Yeah. So I'm very good what I do. Yeah. And I would say that I'm an expert of skincare. I can do some really crazy miracles that people never thought that it could be possible. But they trust me to do it. Because, in this business, you have to have that trust constantly. Otherwise, you don't make money or you don't make the business grow.
So do you market at all, or are you all word of mouth?
Sometimes I used to market it a lot, but not anymore because I have not had enough time to market as much as I want to. I'm in the process of trying to hire some girls to do certain things in the business, but it's hard because when it, like I was telling you, with teenagers these days, or even the people so young graduating school, it's so hard to get that work skills, the work ethic, work hard, be hungry, going to work and being on time, all that stuff. They have so much excuses. So sometimes it's hard for me to find the right person that's going to do exactly what I have done. Yeah. So.
Oh, it's going to be impossible to find that person.
Oh, yes.
You get someone close.
Oh, I've been dealing with this for a while. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Now, another amazing thing that you've done that people don't really realize how hard this is, you're a pro bodybuilder, right?
Yes.
So tell me more about that. How the hell did you fit that in your schedule?
Oh, I know. I've been... So over the years, I've been competing for the last 12 years, and I have been very proud, and somehow, how in the hell have I done all this? And being a mom, stepkids, my business, everything else, and then with the results that I've had from all these years. So yeah, I started when I really started after Danny was born. Yeah. Danny was, born, and I kept thinking, my gosh, I grew up in Brazil. I used to run all the time. I used to swim. I used to do all this stuff. So I need to get back in the gym. This baby weight has to go, no more. So I started going to the gym. I read books like Body for Life, Eating for Life, those guys, Philip, whatever. I love those books. So anyway, I grabbed a couple of books. I kept reading and learning a little bit more. My background still, I'm not just a massage therapist, but I'm also sports science too. So of course I love that about exercising and nutrition, all that stuff. So I started working out, taking Danny to the gym when she was little, dropping her off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, am I doing the wrong thing? But yeah, so I started building muscle and creating that body, that figure. Because, when you work out, you start creating muscles here, muscle there, and then it creates that really pretty figure that you never thought. I mean, I never thought that it was even possible to happen to me, Yeah. Of course, I got approached a couple of times by people at the gym to do competitions. And one day I said, okay, fine, I'm going to do one. So I hired Sandy Hancock. I think you've met her. Yep. She's in the industry for so long. Everybody knows her in town. And so I hired her. We became really good friends. And she introduced me into, the NPC and then the NGA. And then I kept going. So I did my first NGA show with her. And I took third. And then she goes and says, V, 2 weeks later, there is the NPC. Yeah. It was in October. So I'm like, another competition 2 weeks later? Oh, yeah. So I'm like, okay, fine, let's do that. So I stepped on stage, and I don't know how in the hell that happened, but I won that class. And then I won overall class.
Nice.
So I qualified for nationals. Mm-hmm. So I was going to all these nationals, Las Vegas because it's closer. Then I went to South Carolina. Yeah, South Carolina for the West or whatever, East or whatever. I don't remember all the names because it's been so long. Yeah. So anyway, I started doing those, and then I was coming like second. And then first, and then you have to go on the overall to try to get that FBB card, Yeah. So, but I wasn't big enough. I'm 5'4". So it's hard for me to really create that muscle mass and really be big the way all these girls were. And so I kind of got a little bit disappointed because I was constantly coming in second place or third place. I was like tasting the damn card, but I was not getting the damn card. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. So, and then of course I became pro for NGA really quickly.
Yeah.
And then I kept going to the natural shows. So I found IMBA. And then from the IMBA is history, because they have what they called the Natural Olympia. So you have the big Olympia, as everybody knows. The guys are crazy, amazing, right? But the reality is, like, I can compete with those guys or those girls. There is no way. Yeah. Because I have a history of cancer. And what really was for me is, like, I can't add the hormones in my body, because if I do, then I know I'm prone to get other type of cancers. So I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. Yeah. So I stayed away from it because that was the most of it. It was a choice of health for me, my opinion at the time. So anyway, so I competed for the INBA. I kept winning. I kept placing super high. I won my first Olympia. Then I won again. And I'm like, holy cow. And then I start going to worlds. So outside of US, I kept going. I went to Hungary, Greece, Italy, Czech Republic, like all these really fun countries where I got to see and visit and see how they live and the food. Oh my gosh, Greece was the best. So anyway, so I kept winning all these competitions. So I still very high ranked. So even though that I'm almost 42 years old, but I'm still kicking, I guess.
Yeah. Are you still competing?
Yeah, I'm still competing.
Oh, nice.
I competed last year. Competed in November last year.
So how many shows will you do in a year?
So last year I did 4.
Oh my gosh.
Because I signed a contract with Generation Ironman.
Okay.
And Ironman magazine. So they require you to, of course, expose yourself. And my commitment is to do 3 shows. I ended up doing 4. Yeah. So, but I love competing. And I don't know how I make it happen. It's just waking up at 4:45 in the morning. That's how it works. But yeah, it got easier for me to incorporate all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So take us in a day in the life. Cause I think it's funny because there's girls that go to the gym and work out, right? And then there's girls that compete.
Yes.
And they're on totally different levels. One of the funny things that people say to my wife, because my wife's also competed, right?
Yes.
And so when she won the overall in Utah, people would look at her and be like, I'd hear girls literally say to her like, oh, I don't know if I ever want to be that big, you know?
Exactly.
And it's like, girl, you'll never gain muscle like that.
Never.
You know, it took like 8 years.
Exactly.
It was a long time.
And even when now, even when I go to the gym, you know, I have that figure that I told you that you walk around with, you know, it's pretty, you know, you create all these muscle mass, those muscle groups that you really intentionally put so much work to it. But I get it all the time. Oh, I want to work out, but I don't want to look like you. And I'm like, that is so funny to say, because they're never going to be, with time, yes. And dedication, yes. But you're not going to blink your eyes for once and then go to the gym for a week or 2 or even a month. And then you're going to go, oh yeah, I'm going to just look like Veronica or like Heather Dees, you know, the history of these sport where, just like you said, there's the girls that goes to the gym and work out, and then some of the girls that goes to the gym to compete. But even the girls that compete these days, it's very scary to me because I feel like they compete and then right when they go off, something happens to them that they gain so much weight and they are calling bulk season. But that is going to kill every single aspect of healthy by when you get to 40, like when you get to my age, because there was no consistency. Yeah. You went to the extreme first and then the extreme afterwards. There was no middle ground. And sometimes I worry about that. Are we promoting eating disorder? As an athlete, I've been thinking about this lately because I noticed that you go the extreme first for competition, and then right after competition, you're also the extremist of eating everything you see. Yeah. and you're eating everything in your house and the neighbor's house and everybody else's house. So that's what I worry about, is that this part, the extreme, calling it bulk season, it's really kind of excuse to say I can't control, because now, and then of course, if you talk to them, the depression there hits really hard too, because they are not looking like they looked 12 weeks ago for a competition that they've done.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing that I'm trying to kind of create some kind of awareness to even the young ones coming to competitions now these days. They have this bulk season and they are so over. They are constantly posting their before and afters, and then they're crying on social media because they're not feeling great about themselves and stuff. So because women are so visual, especially in the mirror, I don't want this to create a bad name, because bodybuilding creates a bad name for some people.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right.
And one thing that's crazy too, I don't think that women understand it. It's the same in men a tad, but in women it's big time, is your hormones are all over the place.
Exactly.
So when you come out of, competition, do you do a 16-week or a 12-week?
I stay pretty good. So I've done 12s and I've done 16s, but I like the 12s.
Yeah. Yeah.
The 12s are my favorite, because even the 16s are fine, but it feels like, because I compete 3 to 4 times a year, that can be a little rough, because I won't have a social life. I won't have time to vacation. You know what I mean? So I have to balance that, only because my husband likes to go vacationing and, likes to do things. And I have to do it because I have a family and I have to balance things. So 12 weeks for me is easier than 16.
Yeah.
So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And when you're bouncing out of those hard, right?
Yes.
Even Michelle, she came out of a few of them. She got to the point where she was like, I don't really want to compete anymore, because I feel better when I'm not,
Yes.
And then these girls, they step on stage and they take that picture and then they like associate that with like their peak performance.
Yes.
And it's like, that's not really your peak. I mean, yes, you walk on stage, but you're like water depleted and you're competing that day.
Exactly.
It's actually unhealthy that day, right?
Very unhealthy.
You got to bring the water back in.
Yes.
You got to bring, carbohydrates and some protein.
Yes.
You got to get back to like a more balanced state.
Absolutely.
And I know. I'm back when we used to do all these competitions all the time.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you'd see girls bounce out hard. I mean, gain 30 pounds in like a month.
Exactly.
And you're like, ooh, that's hard on your heart.
Oh, very hard. So that is one thing that I've noticed so much with, it doesn't matter what organization you belong to. I belong into the natural organization, right? So we get tested and stuff like that, but it doesn't matter what organization, the same thing goes both ways.
Yeah.
The extreme before and the extreme after. I don't call it bulk season. I don't call I'm off season. Sometimes off season, when you want to gain, that's good, because then you know exactly the purpose is. I'm not going to eat everything I see in front of me. I'm not going to eat a whole pizza and call it I am bulking.
Yeah.
No, that is not true.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing that I've noticed about this generation coming to the next, competitions and the natural bodybuilding or the bodybuilding itself, is that it's just so critical, and they're just damaging organs, or, it's not safe to do always drying all the time. And, I've done 4 competitions a year very frequently. Yeah. So every year I would go from 3 to 4 competitions, never 2 or 1. It's always 3 to 4. Yeah. And I've seen what it has done to me, as a 42 years old. Of course I'm getting tired and exhausted. And I have the same strength, but it's not the same. Yeah. I'm getting a little bit more tired to get to the gym to do those things.
And you do the gym early?
I go to the gym early. I like to get it out of the way, because
you have a Lifetime?
No, I go to Treehouse. I live in Draper.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I was just wondering if Michelle and you see each other. Michelle's a 5 a.m. girl. I mean,
Yes.
She's there sometime, yeah.
I knew she goes to Lifetime. It's just, Lifetime is a little far for me.
Yeah.
And so Treehouse is just closer.
Yeah.
So we just go over there.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does a day in your life look like on eating? Because if you're doing that many competitions, you're eating pretty strict most of the time then.
Yes. Well, I meal prep once a week. Sometimes it's hard because, I'm working. Sometimes I make myself stop and eat those meals.
Mm-hmm.
And clients have seen me off and on. And I always say, okay, I need 5 minutes because I have to inhale this food. You know, it's food for me is the most important thing, is the fuel to feed the muscle mass. I mean, I destroyed it when in the morning, as I've already said it so many times. I like to work out in the morning, and I destroyed that muscle in the morning. Everything I eat is to fuel that muscle, and I love eating, and I love eating good food. So I do go out and I have a great time, but I don't have to eat like that every day.
Yeah.
I enjoy my freedom when I'm off season. And now I'm going to Cabo for 2 weeks. Oh, you betcha. I'm working my little fanny off at the gym the last couple of days because I wanted to look good in the bikini. I'm going to be there for 2 weeks. So I'm definitely going to enjoy myself and eat. But I just need to have that balance. And I've noticed that that's the hardest thing for people these days. Balancing life with food and everything else is definitely, don't get me wrong, it's much easier to drive down to get a Chick-fil-A. Well, Chick-fil-A is not that bad. In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out Burger, right? Yeah. And if you do that once a week, fine, whatever. But if you do that every single day, because that's what you crave all the time, then there is a problem. It needs to be corrected. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm pretty busy. I do a lot of meal prepping, and like before I came here, I already had, this is probably going to be my 4th meal already.
Oh, really?
So I do eat I still maintain that 2 to 3 hours eating. Mm-hmm. And it's a message. My body will tell me, hey, digestion is happening. Remember, 2 hours from now, you need to eat again. So it's a clock. My body responds really well. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah.
So what do you see the longevity of work, doing competitions? Are you going to do them until you're 50? Are you just going to do them until you decide you don't want to do them anymore?
That is always a question I always get from clients, and because, they see me off and on. I always tell people, I do competition because I am having fun.
Yeah. When
the fun hits that exhaustion, then I don't want to do it anymore. So right now, I would say I'm still having fun. I have a great time on stage. I have this image every time I do my cardio in the morning, how I'm going to present myself. In the organization that I am in is a little different than the other organizations, right? So the natural organizations, they have different categories. You get to do like angels. You get to do swimsuit models and stuff like that. And sometimes those are fun because it takes away that nerves that you get.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, because I don't know. I feel like I'm not a performer. I don't like to perform like talking to I don't like talking in big crowds. Yeah. This is a little easier. Podcast is a little easier, but big crowds I don't like too. But I think it's because more of self-conscious, even though that I know people are going to listen to the podcast, have whatever opinions they will have, whatever. Yeah. But it doesn't affect me that much than when I'm speaking in front of all the, people and stuff. But when I step on stage, I close my eyes for that second and it's just like lights on me. I get to perform. I get to show people what I've worked so hard for those 12 weeks that I said that I was going to work. You know, that's the commitment at the end of the day, is to, I don't know, just to finish what you started. For me right now, I'm still having fun. I don't know about a year from now. I haven't, I mean, normally I would have picked already the competitions that I would do for the year, right? Because they already have the schedule.
Yeah.
There are so many I would already picked. I haven't this time. So I don't know. So maybe this year will be just 2.
Yeah.
Who knows? So
That's fun. When are you heading to Cabo?
on the 14th.
Oh, Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Very nice.
We're going to be there until the 28th.
Cool.
Yes.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Are you guys, so when you're on vacation, you work out still?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, like every day?
So when we decided to go into a residency, like ownership to this place that we go every year, I had to make sure that they had a gym and the equipment that they had, all this stuff, just because even when I go on cruises, of course, cruises are really fun because they have really good gyms.
Yeah.
But I go everywhere in the world I've been, they need to have at least some kind of cardio. I bring my other stuff if I need to, but I always work out. Always.
Does your husband work out with you?
He's always there. We don't work out together.
Right. But
He's doing his own thing and I do my own thing.
Yeah. Is he pretty fit?
Yes, he's very fit.
Yeah.
He likes to stay fit. He likes to play pickleball. So that's his thing. He loves to lift. So he looks really good for lifting. He goes to the gym every day, just like I do.
Oh, very cool.
So
Is that something you guys do together then?
yeah,
Is he
we
with
go
you?
together. Yeah, we go together every single day, but he's doing his own thing and I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah. Michelle and I are kind of similar. I need to go with her more, but I mean, sometimes we'll work out together, but most of the time I just do my own thing.
I think, honestly, for me, I just don't like working out with him.
Yeah.
Only because he has a purpose and he wants to lift heavy all the time. He has that Arnold back in the days, I believe that science has shown a little bit more of a different things.
Yeah.
So I don't want to bulk.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I still want to look feminine. So I don't want to constantly lift heavy.
Yeah.
Because he wants to constantly lift heavy. And he pushes me so hard sometimes. And then when I wanted to lift heavy, of course I go with him, but I just don't like it anymore. Like, I'm 42 years old. I don't want to look too bulky. I'm already bulky. I don't need to look any more bulky.
No, that's awesome. So what's your favorite thing in life right now?
Favorite thing in life? Right now, it sounds so cliche sometimes, but it's my work and be able to make women feel beautiful with the skin that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people especially women all the time, come to me with a broken heart or something missing in their lives. And that is what makes me happy. Seeing the difference, seeing how the little I did made them feel so special, and be able to look at themselves in the mirror and see them, not a fake person or some kind of, like, even taking pictures, because selfies right now is super on right now, and filters and everything else. People use filters all the time, and I personally do use filters every once in a while, but I truly love a true picture of showing who you truly are. And that's probably what it brings me joy to go to work every day, to see all these women investing on themselves and looking amazing and feeling amazing. I mean, not every single day you're going to feel that amazing. I know when I went through a hard time in my life, I needed that mirror. I needed somebody to tell me, or I needed somebody to help me, to bring me back to who I really truly am, and loving me for who I am. And I think that's my main joy in life right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel with your job, I mean, you're kind of able to mentor girls, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
It seems like having lash appointments or any kind of a beauty appointment should be like a therapy appointment.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
you know, because we talk about everything. But I think it's just more of, I mean, I know that everybody has their own problems, their own trials in life. Is how you handle it. It's how you figure it out. Not the shortcuts, but figure it out what makes you stronger.
Yeah.
And I think my life and the gym created this bond with me, my personal and my physical, my emotional, only because it's hard. It's hard living a normal life and believing that you don't have problems. I mean, social media is so fake. Holy cow. You can look at my social media. Everything looks so perfect, right? And I don't try to post negative things. I don't want to post negative things. I mean, there are so many things that goes on in your life that you get a phone call and you go, oh, this is going on. I don't want to post that on social media. I want to post the achievement, not the negativity. But I also feel like sometimes people look at another, you know, or like a Kim Kardashian of the life and say, oh, her life is so perfect. And I'm thinking, hell to the no. There's so much that goes on into that perfect life that they think that they're having. And I think the majority of people these days, they forget and they disconnect because they just see this from other people, and they get depressed because they don't have the material stuff that others do. And then it causes them to feel, I mean, they compare themselves all the time. And I think women these days, I think we just need to stop comparing with the perfect life that doesn't exist out there. Mm-hmm. And you make your life. You make the perfect life that you want for yourself. Stop looking at others for validation, because you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. You're going to be depressed.
Yeah, you absolutely will be depressed.
Yeah.
It's hard out there watching, I mean, even men too. You know, I'm in a men's group, and
yes,
it's interesting seeing how the genders almost need to go with their own gender for a while, maybe an hour, you know, might be a weekend, and then bring kind of that energy back and just kind of see the beauty in,
yes,
you know, loving yourself, being around kind of your people, and then being around like the people you love the most, and just seeing how like those relationships kind of intertwine.
Yes.
And, you know, I mean, we look at women and everyone wants to feel beautiful, right? Even men, they won't say that.
Yes, of course.
They want to feel strong. They want to feel,
I mean, I've been getting some men in my business, okay?
There you go.
Just to FYI.
I'm not surprised at all. You know, one of my best friends is a plastic surgeon.
Oh, awesome.
And so he does the same thing you do. You know, he helps people, and he's just like, it's up to you. And, and you know, shout out to Dr. Nicholas Halland. But
yes.
It's been a pleasure being his friend and watching just like people are so grateful for him, you know?
Yes.
And watching them change their lives and change things about them, you know? I mean, anywhere from just, you know, enhancements, you know,
yes.
to they've had multiple kids and their belly's just extended, right? So he just goes in there and nips and tucks them up, and then they start feeling better about themselves, and they're happier, and they show up better for other people, and kind of makes the world a better place.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, I think with that comes into the life that we grew up with. Sometimes if you had religion, doesn't matter what religion, when you see yourself doing all these things for vanity, or some people judge you from that perspective of vanity. And I look at, why not if it makes you feel happy? If you feel better about something that you don't like about yourself, then look for it to do what you have to do. Enhance it or not enhance it. Naturally or not naturally, it doesn't matter. But if whatever it is that you feel that needs to be different to give you that extra validation for yourself, do it. I mean, you never know. I mean, Or I don't take it as, vanity. I take it as, yeah, you take care of yourself, girlfriend.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, you take care of yourself.
So if you were to send a message to all, let's go 20-year-old women, because there's
20.
different categories.
Ooh, okay, my daughter's age.
Yeah, your daughter's age,
Yes.
yeah. So what's your best advice for 20-year-olds?
Oh, I would stick with stop comparing yourself with others. Stop trying to get people to validate who you are. Because that's what I see a lot of these girls. Like even my own daughter, sometimes I have to shake her every once in a while, just give her some shaking. Yeah. And she goes, okay. It makes it feel, it's better, Mama. I feel better. But it's just making her feel aware of her own self, that take herself out of the equation of her problems that feel so much larger than everybody else, and says, okay, well, there are some people out there really going through some really kind of crazy shit.
Yeah.
You just have to stop trying to get validation. If you do a good deed, it doesn't have to be promoted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's just stop comparing and stop trying to get validation from somebody else or from anyone. Boyfriend, family members, whoever. Learn that lesson now, because when you get to 40 or the 30s or 40s or 50s, you're still going to have that mom and daddy issues that could have been fixed by exercising those type of things. Do not compare yourself and do not get validation from anyone else. You get validation from yourself.
Yeah. And that kind of goes right in the self-love vein, right?
Yes.
So how do you love yourself? Like you personally?
Yeah. Oh, well, I had to go through a very tough situation and pull myself out. So I learned to look at myself in a mirror. Mirrors to me it's therapy. I had to believe that I was going to be capable of doing anything I wanted in life. Like even today, don't get me wrong. Sometimes when you texted me and your wife, I'm like, why me?
Yeah.
Why me? Here I am. I don't let people see this, but here is the time to be vulnerable. But I never thought that me as a person that would be able to talk on podcasts or this week, this month itself has been 3 podcasts being asked of me to talk about. And it's so crazy because I'm like, okay, what the heck happened? Why? And don't get me wrong, I feel like, am I even worthy to do that? Or even I'm capable of doing this? Or can I even talk? Or can I be able to do or tell a story? And I've been working on myself to where I believe who I am. I will fight for everything I want. And I've done it for all these years, and I don't question myself anymore do I believe that I can do or that I belong? I belong here too,
Absolutely.
You asked me to come and I never met you before. I met your wife and love her so much. I've heard so many things about you. But knowing that, I think it comes from within. I think it doesn't really happen when you're 20. It doesn't happen it gets closer when you're 30. I think the 20s are for you to get to that point where you're going to eventually see who you really wanted to become when you were 30 and 40s. Yeah. The 20s are another school for you to learn who you want to become from now on. And I've done that school. And 20, sometimes it was crappy. Some years were crappy. Some they were fun. But I believe now that I don't pick myself apart anymore. I look myself in a mirror and I think I'm pretty damn beautiful. Not pretty, beautiful. And I And I want people to see that it takes time to get to that point, but you have to practice every day. It doesn't come so easy as people think.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think when you really find that, I think one thing about your life is you've had a lot of wins, right? Do you feel that way?
Yeah. I mean, don't we all? I mean, I think by looking at my life back now, I'm 42, trying to look back and seeing all the things that I've been through. I'm like, you go like, dang, you know, how did this all happen? You know, some were choices, some were consequences of those choices. No excuses, you know, there's just, sometimes you put yourself in that path. Wanting or not, that's the path you got yourself into. So you get yourself out, you know, you find another path, you know, you figure it out to to get that path to be brighter and not darker. Yeah. You know, and that's what sometimes is so hard for me to see 20s making all these crazy choices that I'm like, okay, this, by the time you're 30, is going to give you a larger consequences that you might, or you may not want it to go through with it. Yeah. So it's just, you know, I think maturity, that is probably the thing right now for me. Maturity is what has made me who I am today. Yeah. And believe in myself. And showing up in the world, right? Yes, every day. I mean, my wife loves, she almost every time she had her eyelashes done. Now, me, I don't really care when she gets her eyelashes done or who does them, right? Essentially. But when she'd get them done by you, she'd come home and she'd be like, oh, I love Veronica. She's fun. She's this, and this. And she's from Brazil and she has this attitude. And like, I just, like, she like looks up to you, you know? Yeah, I do have an attitude. Well, not an attitude is in a bad connotation as in no, it's a good stuff. Yeah, it's, she finds strength in the way that you present yourself in the world. Yeah. And she wants to emulate that in certain things. And I think it's I mean, it's light. Yes, you know, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, she loves that about you. And so when we were talking about inviting you on the podcast, I told you this earlier, I want strong women to come on this podcast that, and it's not that they have to be like accomplished or like own businesses or like any of that kind of stuff. Like women that like show up for other women or other people or their children. And people are attracted to that because of who they are and them loving themselves. Yes. And it is hard in your 20s to love yourself. Yes. I actually feel like I'm one of the very few guys that I actually probably started loving myself when I was a teenager. And so it was odd for me in my 30s to get around guys that were like, just didn't have confidence. And they like were just so unsure about everything. And I'm like, what the heck? You know, like, didn't you guys figure this out when you were teenagers? And the more guys I'm around, the more I'm like, oh, none of you guys figure this out in your teens. Like, no, I mean, I work with all these women and sometimes they're older than me and they still haven't figured that out. Yeah. I still have to see a person that they are proud of who they become and they love everything about themselves. Like I said, not everything is perfect, but you can definitely make those things feel better. Yeah. And I think what people getting the most attracted to me as my personality comes is my boundaries. I'm very square and direct to my freaking boundaries. And I think that that's what my strength had to be exercised because it didn't come. You know, remember I told you from the beginning how Brazilians are. Yeah. No boundaries. Brazilians have no boundaries because that's how we have learned. That's where I came from. And as I went through a divorce and I had to exercise that boundary, it was the best thing I ever done. Because that is why now I can see that, yeah, the attitude is out only because I have boundaries. And that's what the majority of people in the world right now are having a hard time exercising that because everything we want to please, we want to bend those rules. We want to make other people like us. And honestly, I will be honest. I don't give a crap who likes me now and who doesn't. I appreciate the love that people have trusted on me. And I love hard and I will give it back to them exactly the same or even probably unfold. But But now trying to get that validation for dang sure I don't do it anymore. But I do have that boundary. And I think that's what saved me, I guess, to be where I am today.
Yeah.
Boundaries.
Yeah. What's the best boundaries that young women need to set? Or any women, actually. Screw if it doesn't matter if they're young.
Yeah, it doesn't
What are the
really
boundaries
matter.
that you see that they need to set?
Yeah, that's a very... I think in life, things that hurt you, somebody did it to you. I think what we needed to do is sit back and don't just push it aside. I always give this terminology to my husband. Every time there is a problem and you keep putting under the rug, at some point you're going to trip and you're going to fall on your own BS because you keep putting under the rug. And that's what I think we all grew up with the same ideas that, oh, it's okay. She has a bad day. It's okay. It's not a big deal. She's just going through a tough time. But I think it's the respect of each other and setting boundaries where you do this, I do this. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. I think if we can play fair game with each other, I think we can definitely be better. And it will teach us to be better for ourselves too as well. We're going to put us first. I think always putting you first is the key to boundaries.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So I've been, do you study the masculine and feminine energy? Do you like that stuff?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
I've only been paying attention to it for about a year, so I'm kind of new.
Oh, okay. Welcome.
Well, I would just have called it something different growing up, you know? It's kind of a little more defined now, and it's a little buzzy, right? People are kind of into that, right?
Uh-huh.
But to me, it's like a universal truth.
Yes.
And I've always found, you know, men are order, men are protection, women are chaos and love and like freedom. And like, I feel like when men show up very masculine or they're orderly and they're kind because they are strong, right? That allows their women in their life or their partner to take her chaos and engulf him in love. And it's like the perfect
combo
marriage of both of them, right? How have you seen that in your life?
That's a very interesting question because I saw something on social media this week or last week or something. You know, there's a song of Miley Cyrus. I think it's Miley.
Yeah.
And she talks about flowers. If you want to get flowers, you get it yourself, you know? Yeah. And I think people are twisting the message because I'm a woman, you know, I can damn sure go get my own damn flowers. But it's so dang good when a man gives you that damn flower.
Yeah.
Or recite something, oh, I miss you. I've been thinking about you. I think the message has been super crowded as, oh, I am independent woman. I don't need a man. Of course you do. Yeah. Come on, let's not do this to each other. It's like giving you guys saying you guys are worth to nothing. Like, I don't need you guys for anything. That is not true. And I know for sure you guys need us. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and that is the point for me. I mean, yes, I can go get my own damn flowers. If I want to put flowers in a house because it looks pretty on that table, then go freaking do it. But when a man gives you a flower, you cannot make yourself, like this part, your heart is a big smile when that flower gets in the room or gets delivered. I don't think that same smile, that same heart, the same delivery that happens when you put the flower on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my thing. I mean, I love when my husband out of the blue with I don't have to ask. Of course I have to tell him sometimes, you know, I'm like, hey, wake up, man. Yeah. Get me flowers, okay? Because I need some flowers today. Yeah. And it's probably once or maybe twice a year that may happen. It's not 365 days. That's okay. I don't need it. But I think that message needs to be clear when girls these days with that, like relationships, I think we are missing out, helping our generation or the new generation to understand that, yes, you are independent women. You're a boss baby. Go out there, work your ass off, do what you have to do to get what you want. No one needs to determine that. You do. You make your goals, you set your goals and say, okay, this is how much I want to make a year. Then freaking go get it. Whatever it takes. But you don't need, of course, you don't need a man to do that for you. But it's nice when you get a compliment. It's nice when a man opens the door. Yeah. It's nice when a guy says, hey, do you want to go to dinner tonight? And then there's not conversation, who's going to pay the bill? Yeah. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It feels good. Your heart is open. I mean, I still have that. I mean, I've been through really crazy stuff with men, but I still to this day, I like my door to be open, and I liked my flowers to be delivered every once in a while.
Very good. I like that. No, I think what people don't get to is the invisible part of the masculine and feminine coming together is the love and the peace and the security and the safety and the awesome part of the relationship. See, people will say like, oh, I'm an independent woman. I can do whatever I want. I don't need any man.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Then men are becoming weird. Right.
Yes.
There's this catch generation that is going to be really on the sidelines in their 50s and 60s, because I think the generation coming up, especially my kids, I mean, my kids see a man who like adores his wife. Right. And
I mean, for your daughter to say that she would want to marry you, that is so cute.
Yeah, tells me I'm doing something right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But I want them to be in a relationship that's loving and fun, and that's where like really pure strength comes from, right? Like you can go be like, for women out there, you can go be independent. You can do whatever you want. If you want to own a business or raise kids or work out every morning and do it all at the same time, you can absolutely do that. And you want something that makes it 50 times easier, have a man that's backing you up.
Yes.
Be in a relationship that's supportive.
Absolutely.
It's just easy and it's better, and like then you have someone to talk to at the end of the day. You have a person that just cares about you to the ends of the world. And I think that is missing. And I mean, are you on TikTok? You've done that, or Instagram.
I watch some videos, but I'm not on TikTok. I don't do TikTok.
Oh my gosh. It's a total waste of time. You gotta watch yourself.
I know.
But you'll catch little veins in there, right? If you like watch a show for longer than 2 seconds, and they'll start stacking them up for you, right? And every now and again you get in one of those loops where it's like these gender just like fights on there, and it's just like craziness, Then you have like guys like Andrew Tate, and you have like this girl named Pearl, and they're all these like traditionalists that come in, and it's like, if you really listen to what they're saying, the traditionalists are like 100% right. This new age, like you're gonna go have a career in like 50 cats when you're in your 50s, like it's not fulfilling. Yeah, and no one's gonna tell you that now. They're just gonna pump this.
But that is the problem, is that you are having the need to teach that to your kids. So that's the message that you're giving to your kids, that's what it should be, right? That's what they should be looking for. But some parents these days, because they're tired, they're broken, they're frustrated, they're heartbroken, broken actually financially, and they don't know what to do with their kids. They're so busy, and prioritizing the kid right now is putting food out on the table. So I would put food on the table and not really educate or help that kid grow to be the best that they can be. That is the problem we are having with society these days. You prioritize your kids, that it shows. That's why you are teaching them that you can do whatever you want, but it's nice to have a man to back you up. It's so true. I have that. I have a man that backs me up. Everything that I do, everything I choose in life, he's backing me up. Like he goes and says, do you want to go back to school? I'm like, oh my gosh, another degree? Well, that's crazy. I'm 42. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that anymore because I'm getting tired. I want to travel more, go and see. Like he even made a joke. He goes, you wanted to go to Egypt, right? I'm like, yes. School will probably be a problem if I go back to school now. So those are the things. I'm like, I think having that, what you do with Michelle, that partnership, it's what's going to create these little humans that you're raising to be excellent in this world, exceptional in this world. Yeah. Because that's what I've been doing with Danny. Trying.
That's something you've done a great job. I mean, you're at the tail end of it, right? She's 20.
Yeah, she's 20. Yeah. And, sometimes I have to crack it in a little bit of a whip there, but she's really good. Like, I'm very proud of that girl.
Well, I'll tell you one thing you said earlier that I am like so 100% on board with, and I don't think people are, and the generation above us are absolutely not. But you said, I'm not going to be her friend now. I still need to be her mom. But you have to eventually just turn into a friend.
Exactly. Because when she becomes an adult and she's choosing for her own life, I have to switch the parent, the mom, and sit back and say, okay, if you're going to go to this path, here's the consequences. I'm going to warn you before, because, I've been there. I know how it is. But if you don't want to listen and you want to see it for yourself, then the door is going to be open. So take that door. Yeah. Or you can take this door. If you want to take this one here, because it's going to be harder, that's the choice. But you remember the consequence is yours, not mine.
Yeah.
I can't take that consequence away from you anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah. And I think, once I have a theory. Well, I'll see if it's true. And if I'm wrong, oops. But I think life will be so much more fulfilling for a parent if you can get your kids to like 25 to 30 and they're on good paths and they're doing good things and you can sit back and then just enjoy their life with them, as a friend.
Yes.
It's like, hey, let's go golf. Let's go do this. And then you get to be part of their lives and like just they can come to you for advice, right?
Yes.
And they know your standards, right? They know what mom expects or dad expects because they grew up in that world, right? But they also know that they're free to do whatever they want.
Exactly.
They can move anywhere they want. They can travel the world. They can be an artist, a poet, like they can work at a computer software company, whatever, right? They can just pick whatever they want. And you're just sitting back, just cheerleading them. And I think once you get to that relationship, it just seems like that's the pinnacle, that's the finish line. And then you just enjoy the rest of your days.
Yes. And I still think that I am a mom still 65% of the time. Only because she is working. She is, doing really well in school. She's a straight A student. She does really hard, work really hard. But she parties, she has fun, and she wants to do that lifestyle too as well, which is fine either way. But I am a mom that... I'm still a mom now, 65%, because I'm like, okay, well, I pay for your cell phone bills.
Yeah.
I pay for your school. We are still sacrificing a lot of stuff because she could have stayed here in the state of Utah and had state tuition, not outside.
Yeah.
Going to Colorado and have outside tuition, which is so much more expensive. It's ridiculous. But I tell her all the time, and she doesn't like it at times, because she wants to be like feeling full adult, but and then she gets back, takes a couple steps back and says, Mom, I hate adulting, because when I see what really is, it's so much harder than I think. I'm like, oh yeah, welcome to the world.
Yeah.
I've been protected, like even going to Costco. She went to Costco last week. It was so funny. She got a Costco membership for Christmas. Because, she wants to eat well and all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, get your Costco runs. It's going to be cheaper down the road, but go to Costco. So she goes to Costco, grabs a cart, goes shopping, and then she goes to pay. And then she goes and says, Mom, is this protein pretty good? Right before she pays. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's great. Well, when she go to check out, the protein cost $40 something, $60 something, 60. Yeah. And she called me, Mom, how is this protein $60? And I said, oh, you didn't check the price, huh? I need to remind you. Yeah, I don't check the price because I know pretty much how it works. Yeah. You living under a budget. You need to understand what all these prices are to see if it fits your budget. Anyway, so it was definitely funny because she kept saying, Mom, I hate this. I hate this. I'm like, oh yeah, welcome. Welcome to the real world. I protect you. Remember, 20.
Yeah.
When you graduate college, that's when I'm going to have to sit back and do exactly and try to not be a mom anymore and try to be her friend.
Yeah, you got to fade it down to like 25%.
I mean, exactly. But I still pay for things. So yeah, you're still under my supervision.
No, absolutely. Well, hey, we're coming up to the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
So I really want to thank you for being so kind to my wife.
Absolutely.
And being a good example.
Yes.
And when I say being a good example, I really mean it. I think that you show up in this world for all sorts of people. And I hope they thank you all the time, but just know that that's important and you're helping.
Thank you. For somebody that we never met, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, reputation.
Yes. I appreciate
So at the end of my podcast, I always ask people for their best 2 minutes of advice.
Oh my gosh.
We will just end with that.
Yes. Set goals, go after them, drink tons of water, keep yourself hydrated, find your inner self, work on yourself. I think stop comparing yourself with others, because people out there is not, you need to compare yourself. You need to know yourself and compare to the version before and then the version the following year. And I think if we all do that, I think we're going to continue to live longer than the people before us. I mean, more people are living longer lives because they're staying healthy and hydrated, and less stress in life because they're working on themselves and leaving all this BS to the side.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.